Morning, Trainiacs. This is the Master Spa's Challenger H2X 15d. I realize that I've never actually done a full review on this. Now, before we get into this, full disclaimer that Master Spa's has supplied this to me for free. However, they aren't paying me to do this video. They don't actually know what I'm going to say in this video. They have had no say in what I say in this video. And fact of the matter is that this thing is the size, weight of a car. It takes maintenance ongoing. They don't pay me anything ongoing. And if I didn't like it, it would not be here. So if you're okay with that and you're interested in finding out what my experience has been with the Challenger H2X 15d Master Spa's swim spa, watch on. And at the end of the video, I'll give you a URL where if you want to maybe consider getting yours, price one out, you'll get a URL that will get you $1,000 off. Fair deal, right? So let's start with the specs of this. First, on price, they've asked me not to share the exact price because there are a lot of different options, and what I have here isn't accurate to what you probably want. I'm gonna refer to this as like a small car. Think of it in terms of, yeah, about the size, weight, and price of a small car. The specs on this is that it is 15 feet long. If you're putting this up against a wall, you need a little bit of room, about a foot on the other end, so that you can get into the mechanical of this. It's 8 feet wide, 5 feet tall. This is the 15D. D stands for deep. Standing in this comes up about to your chest, and the reason you would want the deep one if you are looking for the best swim experience is because in the shallower model, there's a little bit of back current. And I'm gonna talk about how that back current plays into the swim experience. In that shallower model, you've got the current that goes to the back, and then the current has to go somewhere, and it comes back along the bottom, along the sides, and the top. Now in the deeper model, that back current ends up being down towards the bottom, so you don't have as much turbulence as you're swimming your way through. We've obviously got this in our studio, which is a garage, so it's structurally a garage with a 12-inch thick pad. We've had no sinking on the outside, which is relevant because I believe the unit itself is 3,000 pounds, and with 5,100 liters of water in it, we're talking 8,000 to 9,000 total pounds, heavier than a car. If you're putting this outside where most people have this, you are gonna have to do a little bit of prep work to the site so that it doesn't sink into the ground. Contact your local construction company about that. Setup wise, you're also going to have to get this wired by an electrician. Big note on that, inside the cabinet of this thing, they zip tie a specific GFI breaker that needs to be dedicated for this. Like the wire that comes out of your panel is going to be thick. It isn't just to plug it into the wall and you're good to go. That thick wire is going to go into a GFI breaker, and my electrician, who has set up a bunch of these, didn't know that you needed a specific GFI breaker for this that was included. So we had problems at the start where it was tripping constantly. We ended up taking out the breaker that was originally installed, using the one that was mounted in here, and everything was good. As far as electricity bills go, our electricity bills haven't really gone up. While it's just going, there's just a tiny draw of a couple of amps. While it is in full bore, like full speed, I've never had any breakers trip while it's going on that are showing me that you need to bring in extra power. Again, check with an electrician on this. Now the first thing that people ask when they're triathletes is, what's the swim experience like? Is it a good swim? I'm gonna say that this is from the standpoint of a performance-minded triathlete. My understanding is that most people who buy this are looking for a little bit of relaxation. Go in the jets and the seats that are at the end, relax. And this is more a family-oriented thing for most people. If you're looking at it for that, it has all the power that you need. It has all the good swim experience that you need. If you're looking at it from the standpoint of a triathlete or a swimmer, there are some things that you need to know. First off is that most swim spas out there on the market, I think I've tested about 4, and besides the other sort of well-known swim spa setup, who will go unnamed here, most of the swim spas out there have a very narrow swim channel that also has a ton of air in it because it's coming from either a propeller or from jets that have air. So you end up in this tiny little narrow channel and you get thrown off constantly, or you're like a dog that had the hose turned on his face and you're like, that's not the case with this. What they've done with this swim current is it's about 2.5 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep, and they've taken all the air out of the jets, so it's a really nice, smooth swim current. The power of it is roughly at max power, I would say around 130 to 140 per 100 meters. Now, what you need to know about that is that with this is where Master SPAS doesn't like me saying this, but this is what I use it for personally. I actually don't like maxing out the power on this. I would rather have a lower power, and I actually tether my waist to the back. That's a tool that I use because you can load up on the tether and gradually increase the power every 5 or 10 strokes that you're putting out without having to change the current in this. What I also know is that the other swim unit manufacturer out there that claims that you can get down to a 50-second per 100 meter power, I know people who have those units and they too keep the power lower and go off the tether, because what's more critical isn't max power, it's actually max power that you can get with a good lifelike swim experience. Next, on to the swim experience. What is it going to feel like? When you first get in, you're gonna notice that it isn't exactly like a pool where you have no current coming on you from the top. You are gonna have a current coming on you from the top, so that changes a little bit of the dynamics of how things feel. First off is the current has to go back and then come back underneath and along the sides. So your hand is gonna feel like the water's a little bit heavy. That, I find, is a good strength-focused swim because you've got that little bit of extra resistance. It's kind of like having kind of paddles on. So you're working on strength-focused swimming. This means a lot to you and is really beneficial if you're an amateur triathlete. Second thing about that back current is that you're gonna notice that it actually kind of pushes your legs down a little bit at the end. It's gonna come back, it's gonna touch on your feet, and it's gonna push them down slightly. At first, I was like, ooh, I'm not a big fan of this because as an age group swimmer, I have sinky legs like a lot of people do. Then I realized that this is actually a swim tool because it's a cue to kick and force your legs to come up. What I've actually experienced is that I swim about half my swims in this, and in 2020, where I haven't really swam much because all the pools are closed, and I certainly haven't done any squad swimming because those are all shut down, I've actually got about 5 to 10% faster doing half of my swims in this because I can have the mirrors on the bottom, I can look at my swim stroke and do thousands upon thousands of reps with good technique. Those mirrors for me have been absolutely critical. I, for 10 years, have been battling a really straight left arm creating shoulder problems, and coach upon coach keeps saying, bend your left arm, get that high elbow catch. Well, high elbow catch didn't come. I put the mirrors on the bottom and the front of this. Instantly, within about 3 strokes, I was able to see, oh, that's how it's supposed to look. And that's where the improved technique is coming from. So let's say that you're bought into the idea that it is going to work for you for general exercise or for specific training. In either case, you're gonna have some setup and maintenance to do. If you're looking at putting this inside, you're gonna have to put a dehumidifier in because there's a difference between the warm water and the colder air. As you start splashing around, it turned into like a greenhouse in here. So we just had to get a basic $200 dehumidifier that I turn on when I start swimming, and about 8 hours later when everything is dry in here, I dump it out. Simple as that. Chemicals, that was a bit of a learning experience. You can set this up with chlorine or bromine. I chose to use bromine. So what I end up doing is I always have bromine tabs sitting in here, and that really doesn't take any work besides about every 2 or 3 weeks, I have to fill it up. What I do before every single swim is I take a water quality test, which gives me my pH levels and my bromine levels, and based off of that test, I've got a recipe over on the side that I've got about 4 chemicals that I pull over and I either put in 0 of something or lots of something or just a standard amount of something. I've had this running for 5 months straight, had the water quality tested after those 5 months, and the water quality was still good. That said, at the start, depending on what your water is like where you live, there's just gonna be a little bit of a learning curve to figuring it out. Overall, it probably takes me about $1 to $2 per swim and about 3 to 4 minutes per swim. You are going to have to take out the filters and rinse them and let them soak every month, which probably takes about 10 minutes of work. And 3 times a year, I drain this and refill it just to get fresh water in there. Other things as far as setup go, if you have this inside, obviously there's gonna be some splashing around regardless of how pretty you think your stroke might be. So I ended up putting a shower curtain around, and in addition to having a little bit of room at the back to get in for the mechanics at the back, the cover is a little bit bulky. So as you roll it back, it ends up bulking up to like 2 to 3 feet thick. And you want that all the way at the back if you want all of the room of getting into the front and to the spa jets and seats at the back. Finally, as far as reliability goes, like I said, it's kind of like a car. There's a little bit of maintenance to do on a car. There's a little bit of maintenance to do on this. There are things that can go wrong on a car. There are things that can go wrong in this. In my case, there was a little bit of a leak, just a small leak that my dealer came out, tightened up a couple of things, and it was an easy fix. The touchpad has gone off. Again, I contacted the dealer. That was a quick replacement. So the touchpad is not really a touchpad at the moment until we get that fixed. But the thing worth noting about that is that Master Spas is a North American company. They're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Everyone in the manufacturing world in 2020 has difficulties, but even with those difficulties of sourcing parts all around the world, I was able to source a touchpad from Master Spas to replace this right away. I've never had a problem with the jets. I've never had a problem with the seats. I've never had a problem with the heating. It's pretty reliable. So do I like it? Is it worth it? Well, like I say, if you are somebody who is just looking at this for relaxation, for a little bit of family fun, for exercise, it's gonna be everything that you want. If you're looking at it for training, yes, look at it from the standpoint of being a good training tool for some of your swims. In my case, I use it for about half of my swims, and I've made those swims shorter. Because I've got the mirrors on the bottom and the front, and because it has that good technique kind of focus, I'm able to shorten the total amount of swim time that I've got. If you're a triathlete or a swimmer, look at it from the standpoint of an additional training tool. That said, I understand that it's a very big purchase, and I realize it's a luxury that I have this, and I'm very lucky and thankful to Master Spas for sending this out, and thankful to all of you for watching this far in the video. So I've set up a URL with Master Spas at masterspas.com/triathlon Taren. I get no kickbacks from that. It's just where you can put in your information to get accurate pricing, and you get $1,000 off. But yeah, I wouldn't have a giant tub of water that I have to take care of every single week if it wasn't worth it. And it's worth it. It's nice. So thanks everyone. I hope that this was informative, and I like splashing around. Big fan of it. Later.